the middle.
Albert Martinez Ritmo. Coaches spend a lot of time prepping their teams not to commit turnovers. But your team is very adept at once committing a turnover, minimizing the cost of it. As a coach, when did you begin to pick up the value of that, and if your philosophy's changed over the years about minimizing the cost once you commit the turnover?
Yeah, I mean, some of our turnovers have been so violently bad that Oklahoma hasn't even had a chance to catch the ball. So, and look, there's some merit to doing that and not having a live ball situation. Live ball situations are the worst for every team in the league. And look, there are a lot of symptoms of high turnovers. Usually it's disruptive defense along with probably poor spacing and other things. So, you try to address those things as best as we can. Tyrese has been historically great with ball security, and this team that we're playing now presents unprecedented challenges because they've been turning everybody over through the entire playoffs. So, look, we're going to have to have really great spatial awareness with everything that we're doing. You can't play too careful against Oklahoma, or otherwise you'll never get a basket. You've got to be aggressive, and there are going to be some mistakes, but our bounce back ability from mistakes is really key, and our response, and certainly we want to avoid those mishaps as much as possible.
Thank you, Coach. All right, we'll take questions around the room. First question here on 2, second row on the aisle.
Hi, Pascal. Guilherme Giovannoni from ESPN Brazil. On game 2, there were situations where when you guys received the ball and tried to read what the defense was doing, there was time for them to reset. And the times you guys attack right away, you guys were able to create some advantage, especially in the last quarter. Is that a thing that you guys have been working on the last 2 days?
Well, I mean, we gotta be better at getting to the paint, obviously. But yeah, they do a good job of just converging and being there, in position and stuff. So it's gonna take a lot of work, and again, we gotta continue to get better at it.
Straight ahead.
Hey, Pascal, we are from Spain, and we are trying to tell your story to your fans over there. What do you think the young Pascal would say, who went to the first basketball camp in Cameroon, if you say that you are here today fighting for your second championship in the NBA?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I just tell them to be patient. Trust your instincts. Like, you have a good read on what's happening, so just trust it. Believe in yourself. No matter what, there's going to be a lot of down periods, but you just got to keep fighting, and you're going to get an opportunity to do something special. So that's just what I'll tell my younger self, and I think that's just looking at my journey and how it was. It wasn't always just a smooth sailing, it was a lot of rough times, but also a lot of great memories, and it took a lot of just getting through adversity and all that. So I'll just tell them those things.
Dan on the left side.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Rick was just in here talking about the nature of the Thunder defense. Says, if you're not taking a risk against them, you might never score. You have had some opportunities to, duck in, get steals. It's obviously hard work down there, but how do you balance trying to hunt those smaller opportunities versus staying in the flow of the offense?
Right. Yeah, no, you just got to balance it out. Obviously, like you said, they do a good job of just packing everything and making everything disruptive. And so we got to be stronger with the ball, obviously, but also just be decisive. Whatever we decide to do, just do it.
Mike in the front.
Michael Pina, The Ringer. Pascal, you guys only allowed 4 fast break points in game 2, and you've had such an excellent transition defense this entire season. Just what goes into being so effective in that area for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we gotta get stops, right? So you get stops, you get in transition. That's the first thing, and we gotta also get rebounds. Like so, if you can't do those 2 things, like I don't think you can be successful in transition. We know we can run, like that's what we do, but it's not really possible to run if you're not getting stops or if you're not getting rebounds.
Next question over here on the third row on the left.
Hi, Pascal. Tencent from China. So we all know that the Pacers is a well-rounded team throughout the whole season, and but does it bother you at all that the team is yet to have anyone score more than 20 points in the series so far?
Not really. It bothers me that we didn't win last game. That's probably the only thing that bothers me right now. We want to win. That's all we really want to do.
Anyone? Alvaro, last question in the middle on 1. Go ahead.
Did I say last night? No, it wasn't last night.
Alvaro Martin.
Last game, yeah.
Alvaro Martin, Ritmo. When I presume you've looked at the tape of the 2019 NBA Finals and seen yourself play. When you look at young Pascal Lejeune, the young Pascal, what's your reaction, and what's on your mind as far as, boy, I've come a long way in these areas?
Well, yeah, I think I'm focused on right now. You know, I haven't been watching those tapes because I'm really in the moment right now, focused on like what we can do to win. But just me as a young player overall, it's just again just the growth. Like I started, all I could really do was just run and play defense and just dunk. You know, like there was nothing else. So just look at myself now, I just like a little bit more well-rounded, like skill-wise, maturity wise. I mean, I was like probably 200 pounds when I first like my rookie year or whatever. So just being a man, like I think that's pretty much it. Like and my skills just developing.
Thank you, Pascal. Yeah, does he let me know if Tyrese is here? I'll check. checking me. I'll tell Nancy. First question, Vince in the back center.
Tyrese, Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. When Miles, since the day he got here, pretty much he's been in trade rumors. And when you got here for Sabonis, it kind of opened things up for him in a way. Can you almost speak to knowing what it's like kind of to be in his shoes and what he has meant to you, your sort of tandem since you guys have gotten here and risen through the East?
Yeah, I can't really speak on knowing what it's like to be in his shoes, honestly. I think since I've gotten here, he was hurt when I got here. And I think that he got to watch me play and felt like, the success that I was having, that if we were playing together, that it would be a lot more, So our first experience playing together has been, a lot of fun. And we feel like our synergy and our connection has just grown over time. We constantly are sending each other clips of how we can be better in pick and roll, how I can help him, how he can help me, whatever the case is. We get along really well. And I think that has given us a lot of success. And to be honest with you, when I first came to the league and my big was Rashawn Holmes, and I love Rich. Rich was much more. He's not a pop guy. He's a roller. Has a really good floater push shot. And I always thought, in my career, I was going to be best with a guy who plays above the rim and a pick and real roll threat. Well, now having experience playing with Miles for so long, I feel like he just unlocks a lot more of what I do. And it's been an interesting dynamic to play a long time because Miles isn't this guy that's going to catch a ton of lobs or anything. We've probably thrown 3 alley-oops in the years we've played together. But, it's been really a lot of fun, a fun experience to play with him and get to know him better. And, You know, it's different. Our league is different. He's a pop guy more times than not. But when he does roll, he really opens things up for me as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
Dyson, back left.
Dyson Daniels here, NBA correspondent. I was got a question. What goes into the mental game for you before a game like the finals, you know, with the atmosphere and the build-up and stuff like that? And has anything changed for you from the regular season to the finals in your routine, or you try to keep it the same?
Nah, honestly, I try to approach everything the same way. I feel like if I try to do something different, I'm not like superstitious or anything, but I feel like you just try to treat every game the same way, honestly. I still eat goldfish at 60 minutes on the clock. I still go to chapel. On the road, though, I don't go to chapel as much. I kind of do like a private chapel session. That's really the only thing that I change. But yeah, everything's pretty much the same. Just try to treat it the same, because the minute that I try to switch it up or put more pressure on myself or our group than there really is, or then that needs to be applied, then I feel like guys can get nervous or whatever the case is. Let's just be loose, play basketball.
In the front on your right, Jeff.
Jeff Zilgate, USA Today. Tyrese, when someone's at your level, we often hear that there's not a defense you haven't seen. So I assume you've seen everything Oklahoma City is doing with you, but what makes them different? And how do you try to combat that in such high stakes here, game after game after game?
Yeah, I feel like at the point of attack, they got more guys than most teams in the NBA that are high level at the point of attack. They're really connected on the defensive end, and I feel like they mix up coverages. I think Coach Dagnall isn't afraid to just kind of do things on the fly. He doesn't do everything that's like very traditional. He will, if you're trying to get a 33, he'll come double, like just out of nowhere. And they've really done that all year. But I just feel like they're willing to mix things up, and I think the biggest thing is just personnel. Like their personnel is different than everywhere else. But, I think playing 2 games against these guys is really good. It gives me more film to watch, see where I can be better. Feel like I haven't been great by any means through the first 2 games. So, I'm just trying to take what I can to prepare me for game 3, and just trying to be the best version of myself. So just keep watching film, see where I can get better. The answers always lie in the film.
Dustin, up front.
Hey, Ty. Keep going on that note, just how important is off-ball execution in these guys? Just to try to keep the swarming of the defense out of the paint.
Yeah, you got to mix things up. You can't give these guys the same dosage, the same look of anything. If you just try to run high pick and roll all game, they just crawl into you and really pack the paint, and nothing's open. And so there's got to be a mix of things. Got to be off the ball, got to be playing off the pitch, got to be coming off ball screens, got to be. You can't run the same thing consistently against these guys. You got to mix it up. So we got to do a much better job of that. I felt like I probably got caught in too many high pick and rolls, where they could really pack it in, and then we're getting shots late against the clock, especially in the first half of both games. So we got to do a better job there, and that starts with me just getting us in better positions, playing out of different spots, all those things. So you definitely got to mix it up against these guys.
Joe, up front here.
We saw you limping pretty good after game 2, and just a couple minutes ago, Rick confirmed that you were feeling some discomfort. Where are you feeling discomfort? What happened? And I assume you're good to go for game 3, but just if you could tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I'm fine. Really just a lower leg thing. I'll leave it at that. I don't think there's anything more to elaborate. I feel fine, and I'll be ready to go for game 3.
Jamal up front.
Tyrese, you and Rick, I think, have both talked about after the trade, you guys had a dinner. Rick basically put the ball in your hands. That's not always come easy for him, or been sort of his ethos. Just what do you remember about that conversation, and to have a coach give you that kind of confidence and trust? Like what did that mean to you?
Yeah, I think when he told me that he didn't want to call. Well, really, the first dinner we ever had was when I first got traded here. Me, Buddy, Tristan, and him. At Prime 47, and that was just more getting to know us, more things than not. And I think we just, especially that year, like we weren't very good. We weren't more times than not. I feel like Coach really just was letting us play and learn as young guys, which I think is important. We played a lot of young dudes, so he was just it was like baptism by fire almost. There was a couple experiences that year where I just had to figure out how we were going to be at our best. And then going into the following year, before training camp, he met with me and said that he didn't want to call plays anymore. And I was surprised because I know what the conversation around coach was, especially from players and point guards specifically. And when he gave me kind of that nod, that was like the ultimate respect. That was like the ultimate trust that I could get from anybody, because he is such a brilliant basketball mind, has been around such great guards, great players. And so for him to give me that confidence, I think, it was really taking my career to another level. And, he's just a basketball savant. Like, he's just, we meet, we talk all the time. And I think he's really helped me learn how to watch film, which I think is important. I think that's something that's not talked about enough, like especially young basketball players. Like, you can just watch film, but if you're just watching and trying to find your highlights, then that's much different than really trying to dissect things. Like, I feel like when I first came in the NBA, I would like get them to clip my shots and clip my assists, and clip my counting stats. That doesn't really do anything. What are the possessions where I'm getting nothing, where I'm holding the ball for 15, 16 seconds, getting off it, and now somebody else has to make a play against the clock. And coaches really helped me learn how to watch film the right way and watch the whole game, not just my minutes, watch the other minutes, see where I can help other guys. All that stuff is really important and really helped take my career, to another level. So really appreciative of him. And our relationship's going to continue to grow.
Michael up front.
Michael Pina, the Ringer. Ty, you guys only allowed 4 fast break points in game 2, and you've been excellent with your transition defense this entire season. Just what goes into being so effective in that area?
Just next play mentality. I feel like you could say that around, why we've had, these comebacks through the course of the year. You could just say, I think that we try not to dwell on things. I think as NBA players, or just as basketball players in general, it's easy to make a mistake and dwell on it and give up a bucket or whatever. But I feel like we do a great job of just getting to the next play. Coach always preaches that. It's really important here in our organization. So we just talk about that a lot. And honestly, if you make a mistake as a basketball player, the first response should be how to fix it, and more times than not, if you turn the ball over or make a dumb play offensively, if you get it back defensively, that kind of makes up for it a little bit, I guess. So, I feel like we've been good transition D all year. We've had a good series that way. We got to figure out how to be better in transition offensively. We got to figure that out as well. But I think we're doing a great job. Guys have taken charges. We've really hustled back and made them have to play, get back into actions and things. So I don't think there's really a scheme or anything. It's just that next play mentality that's important.
Thank you, Tyrese.
Appreciate it. My fault.
It's good. Yeah. That's it.
Test 1, 2, test. Test 1, 2.
We'll take first question here on the left side, on the second row, on the aisle.
Hi, Mark. I know you have said that you were not talking about the rotation, but in the first game you didn't use two big men together, and you lose the rebound battle, and you use several minutes on second game, which you win the rebound battle. How is that important for the team?
I mean, the general battle we're trying to win is the possession battle, and there's different ways to do that. In the first game, we were able to win it with turnovers, which tends to be the way we can win it when we're smaller. And in the second game, we obviously rebounded better in those units, which is an advantage when we're bigger. We have optionality. Every game's different. We try to make sure as series go on, we're expanding options. We're not constraining them, and trying to stay aggressive in terms of looking for what's best against our opponent in a given game, knowing that every game is different. So we want to have all the options available. We'll continue to draw on them when we think it's advantageous, knowing that Game 3 is going to be different than Game 1 and 2.
Second row on your right.
Hey, Coach. Brett Siegel of Clutch Points. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about Alex Caruso's leadership off the bench, especially given his championship experience, and how that's a luxury for you guys, especially coming off his Game 2 performance as well.
One thing we talk about with the team is the leader is the person doing the right thing, and that's why he's a great leader, because he's always doing the right thing. He's always competing. He's always present. He's always engaged, and he's always inside the team. And when you do the right thing and walk the walk and operate the way Alex does, it gives you an incredible platform to lead, both through example and, in his case, with his voice as well. But we have leadership all over the roster. We have a lot of different leaders that do so in different ways, but he's certainly, got his fingerprints all over the team.
Nick, back left.
Mark, you have often talked about needing to continue to evolve through the series, and there being a recognition that your opponent is not this static thing that you're going against. Big picture wise, how are you incorporating that into your daily work and attack with the team over the these few days here in between games?
It's a combination of preparation and openness. You need the openness because you don't know what the game's going to be like, and you don't know what the opponent could do. There's a lot of different things that Indiana's shown over these playoffs that they could pivot to or not. And we try not to guess in those situations, but we also want to prepare for every situation. The one thing we definitely have to be prepared for is just watching them, especially in Game 5 in New York, and then Game 6. In Game 6, they made a conscious effort when they came home off a loss to really ramp up the physicality, pressure. And so that's one thing we have to be ready for coming in here, is understanding they're going to play with a lot of energy. They play very well here. They play very comfortable here. And we've got to level up to that if we want to give ourselves a chance to compete.
Front right, Tim.
Mark, guessing that this was not a team that was impressed by 60 wins, 65 wins, not a lot of teams winning this many games by double-digit points and all that. Why has this team not ever really been that impressed by itself and by all of the outside things that this team has stacked up throughout the year, like the winning percentage and all of that? Why does it not resonate, or not seem to resonate with this group?
I think there's just a lot of integrity to the team. I think that starts with the makeup that these guys have. They have great psychological makeup, competitive makeup, personal makeup. And then over time, we've had to, really kind of forge into this version of ourselves in invisible spaces. We haven't relied on, anything outside the outcomes, the noise. We haven't relied on that when we weren't winning. We haven't relied on that while we were building. We haven't relied on that while we were rising, and we are not relying on that now that we're in a different position. So I just think the integrity of how this particular group has done it and who they are is probably the answer to that question.
Michael in the front.
Michael Pina, The Ringer. What makes Indiana's transition defense so effective off live ball turnovers, off rebounds? You guys had 4 fast break points in Game 2.
I mean, they've been good at it all year. It's a strength of their team. I think part of it is offensively. They get really, really good shots with balanced floors. They're very rarely forced into tough situations. They're low turnover generally, and they get really good shots. And usually that is a great starting point with your transition defense. I thought we had 4 fast break points, but I did think we ran pretty well and better in game 2 than game 1, despite the turnovers in game 1. I thought we advanced the ball much more up the floor, got some advantageous plays. This play where we advanced up the floor, we've got them kind of on their heels. Ball hits Kaysen, hits Shai, it comes out to Caruso for a 3. It's like we had more of those plays that don't really reflect in fast break points, but that give us some flow up the floor and have us running on the misses and the turnovers, and we have to continue to do that. But there's a reason they're here. They do a lot of things well, and one of them is they get back in transition.
Tim, here in the front.
Mark, Shai is obviously elite mid-range, like historically elite mid-range. Everybody knows that. Why is he able to consistently still be able to get to his spots and create space the way that he can?
I think there's just a variety to his game. He can get to there a lot of different ways. He'll post, he'll play the pick and roll game, he can ISO, he finds it in the flow. And so I think the diversity of that helps. And then the diversity of his shot profile. I mean, he'll pass, he'll get to the rim, and he'll shoot threes as well. So it's not like he's just a fastball pitcher. He's got a lot of different things he can go to that can keep teams off balance. And I just thought, in game 2 especially, he just found such a great rhythm and such a great, blend of those things that he becomes much harder to guard and less predictable when he's doing that.
Last 2, David and Dan.
Mark, how's your team's ability to kind of disrupt screening evolved over the last year or two? How has the communication gotten better, and the actual physical ability to kind of make teams screen badly against you and be able to blow those things up? How has that kind of gotten better and better over the last 2 years?
Some of it's personnel. You got to start there. We've got guys that are hard to screen either because of strength or quickness or both. Dort comes to mind, Caruso comes to mind, Dub comes to mind, Case and Wallace for sure. So they're really good pursue guys. Having the guys at the rim is helpful because you can't just spring downhill and assume that there's something good there for you. Hopefully the help is deterring that to a degree. And then, we've just seen more and more pictures as we've gained more experience. We're still learning the league. We're still learning our own schemes. Guys are still learning their games. A guy like Case and Wallace, as good as he is still really learning the pictures. And so it's a combination of those things, but I think it starts with just the defensive personnel and how potent they are with that.
Dan, last one here on the left.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Siakam is somebody that you mentioned earlier, poses a lot of different kinds of challenges, but you've been able to limit his touches, especially in the paint. What's allowed you to be successful in kind of limiting his effectiveness through the first 2 games?
I don't want to make that a foregone conclusion at this point. I mean, they're coming home, and he's going to be very aggressive. Halliburton's going to be very aggressive, and they play really well here. So I thought we've done a decent job conceptually against their team in the first 2 games, which I think the strength of their team is they play a certain way that elevates everybody. I think we've seen that. And so, you really can't key on an individual player or an individual thing. You really have to defend them conceptually because that's how they're existing on offense. And just trusting that if you do that, it'll lower the overall effectiveness of the individual players. But that's easier said than done. I mean, they're just so good at imposing their will on that end of the floor that you really can't take that for granted. And as we come here especially, we really have to be on it if we want to give ourselves a chance to continue to do that.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
Shai will be up next. We'll take questions for Shai. First one right here in the front, two. Tim.
Hey, Shai. Mark has talked about like game one of a series kind of being a feeling out type of deal. How much better did you feel prepared to attack the Pacers defense in game two? And do you feel like the more you see a team, the more maybe you know the answers to the test?
Yeah, coach is definitely right on that. A series is so tricky. Like it definitely is like it's a feel out, but it also can be like there's also so many adjustments made to where like it's almost like hard to like predict and try to determine what they're gonna do with you. You kind of just have to be ready for everything, and just try to be as sharp as you can. That's how I kind of see it. Teams have like thrown. We've obviously like played well in certain games, and teams have thrown like different coverages at us as a group in a scheme, and I found myself like trying to predict what they're gonna do before almost like it almost catches you off guard. So I try to like just be ready for everything and then let the game come to me.
Third row on the left here.
Hey Shai, tennis in China here. Not sure if you ever learned about Bruce Lee, as Bruce Lee is also one of Kobe Bryant's idols. And one of his famous quotes is, "The usefulness of a cup is in its emptiness." So how do you look at that empty your mind mentality since the series are tied at 1-1 at this time?
The way I see it is like the series is 1-1. The goal is to win 4 games, and after it being 1-1, it's now the goal is to get to 3 games, and it's first team to 3. So kind of like it's a blank slate. It's a scratch, 1-1, 0-0, and it's first to 3.
Dan, here on the left.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. You've wound up with some of the switching cross-matched onto Siakam. I'm just wondering, when you got that sort of him on a switch, he's got a versatile offensive game. What's job one for you when you realized like, oh, I'm on him, I got to deal with him right now?
Yeah, he's obviously a really good player. Like you said, can attack you in many ways, very versatile. We've seen it throughout the playoffs. He's won at a high level. He knows what it takes. And I honestly, with guys like that, you just try to make it difficult for them. They can almost check every box, and you just try to make it as complicated for them as possible. It's a hard job, but if you want to win, you got to get it done.
Alvaro, straight ahead.
Alvaro Martin Ritmo. When you're a young player coming into the league, you have a list of things you want to develop and get better at. Your coach just mentioned that the team, as much as it's progressed over the years, has a few more levels to go beyond the series, including. Do you sense that? Do you sense that there's more that this team can do as a team collectively in terms of the way you play?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I view competition, the way I view everything as a whole. Like, you're never going to do anything in life perfectly. And no matter your age or your upside and whatever it is, you can learn and get better. Now, us being younger, I guess the room is a little bit bigger, but we haven't not once yet played a perfect basketball game or had a perfect series. So there's definitely plenty of room to get better, and that's one of the things that we focus on as a building and as an organization, and I think that's why we've been able to get better so quickly.
Nick in the middle.
Yeah, Shane, maybe one of those things is an opportunity for you all to continue to get better through the playoffs, which you've talked about as performing at a really high level in one of these Game 3 type situations. Do you guys view these boxes that you continue to check, and maybe this is another one for you all here on the road in a Game 3?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like we just have to keep finding ways to get better as a group. If we continue to do that, we'll be just fine. But if we've struggled in an area, that's an area we can get better at, and we have to attack that opportunity. And I think Game 3 is a perfect example of that.
Last question up front.
Shai right here. Michael Pina, The Ringer. Shai, what have you come to appreciate about Alex Caruso as a defender that maybe you didn't anticipate before he became your teammate?
His ability to like know where everyone is on the floor, and not just like the defense or the offense when he's on defense, but us as well. He knows where all 10 guys are supposed to be, and he plays defense off of like feel and like tendencies and awareness, almost like how a lot of guys play offense. And it's pretty special to see up close and personal every day. It's literally a talent of his to feel the game the way he does defensively, and it's helped our defense a lot. And it's no surprise why we're a pretty good defense.
Thank you, Shai. Jalen will be right up. Not today. All right.
Somewhere on Instagram.
We'll take questions around the room. Alvaro, right in the middle on one.
Alvaro Martin of Ritmo. The team had, I think, 700 different five-man lineups during the regular season, more than many, many other teams, especially teams that didn't have big trades or injuries. You've been on the court, even in these finals, with a five-man group that had never played before together. You have a role as the leader of the team. What is it like from your perspective? Okay, we've got this group, and my role has to change, and we have to look out for this. How does that feel, and what gives you confidence that whatever the coach throws at you, you're ready?
Ooh, I'm gonna try to keep this like not as long of an answer, but I think just over the course of my time here, I've had to evolve really fast, and I think that's made me a really good player. So I've been in so many different positions on the team that it's helped me like get to the point where like when you say our lineup was different, like I don't even really notice that, you know what I mean? So. And then we have a group of guys that are just ready to play. So everybody's kind of waiting for their opportunity. Like you said, we have so many different lineups just throughout the course of the year that nobody's shocked by when Mark is like wants to go small or change this around or do that. So we just have a bunch of guys that have had experience doing that. And just over the course of time, like you kind of like don't really notice it, and you're just more ready to play and ready when your number's called. And I think that's what makes our team special. And just kind of from there, it's just go out and play and just do whatever it takes to win. And I think everybody's kind of accepted where their role is and how they can help the team.
Nick in the middle.
Dub, you guys have used so many different things over the course of the last few years as like a challenge to overcome. Even in this playoffs, it was coming out of the locker room at halftime, playing better in third quarters. How do you view this experience here, coming on the road for Game 3 and having an opportunity to play at a really high level in a Game 3?
Yeah. I mean, it's no secret, like, our Game 3s haven't been the best, so. But it's also, to your point, it's an opportunity. And Mark is always talking about how if it's the finals, if it's the third week in January on a random Tuesday and we're not even on TV, like, how can you get better through the experiences that we play? And that's kind of how we look at it. We're just trying to get better every single game. Obviously, we're trying to win as well, but every single time you try and go out there and you look back at your film and you're like, we got better tonight or we got worse, and we're always trying to get better.
Dan, second row over here.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. You've seen the bulk of the Siakam matchup on defensively through the first couple of games. What do you know about him now that you didn't know 2 games ago? And when you're trying to deal with limiting his paint touches, and how have you been effective in doing that?
For me, defense, like, I don't really notice like having the bulk guarding him, just because defense is so team oriented. I can only do my part correctly, which is just make it tough for him. And obviously there's some like scouting and like analytical stuff that goes into playing defense against somebody that good and somebody that can affect the game with their scoring. But I think it really just revolves around when you have other guys on the team that are talented, you try and like make it really tough as a unit for them. And I think my team has done a good job just being there for me when I'm beat. And, you know, you try not to get beat as much, obviously, but, you know, I think it just comes down to like team defense, getting ready to rotate. He's a good player. He's going to find shots. He's going to make tough shots. It's just how hard can you make it over the course of a series for him to get to the spots he likes and do that sort of thing.
Next row back on this side.
Hi, Jalen. Tencent from China. So you guys are such a young and talented team, reached the finals in the early stage of your career. People can't help but draw a comparison with the Thunder, with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. Does that give you extra pressure or motivation? What's your thought on that?
No, I mean, it doesn't really do too much for me, except the fact that it's just cool. Like, growing up, what was I, probably like 12 when they were playing around there. Like, to go from watching them reach that point and then to end up being on the team that's in the same position as them, it's just like, it's more of like a blessing and just like a dream come true. It's like, I just played Russell Westbrook in the playoffs, and obviously he's a cornerstone of this like organization. So it's like, I just try and take those little things that come with it and just be really happy and thankful for it. It doesn't really add any pressure or any kind of like motivation. It's just really cool that I get to be in this position.
Last question here in the front.
Michael Martin, Let's Talk Thunder. Dub, after the Memphis series, you credited sort of a new mentality and mindset, being aggressive. How's that sort of evolved, and how have you been able to maintain that through 4 rounds?
It's kind of like one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it things. Like, I think once I kind of got my mentality to switch and just understand how the playoffs are called, how like the consistencies, like physicality in the playoffs is, I think it just was something that I found that works. And you can't really like come out soft or like timid during these, you know what I mean? Because the other team everybody's playing like their life is on the line. So I think just me being able to play that way and shift my focus to that has really kind of helped me evolve just throughout the playoffs. And, you know, like I said, there's ups and downs throughout the whole thing. So if I can just stay pretty consistent and even throughout it, I'll be fine.
Thank you, Jalen. Practice for the Thunder will be open for the next few minutes out on the floor of the arena. Thanks.